Hello everyone and welcome. In this video we're going to be reviewing the horror thriller comedy film The Menu. The film was directed by Mark Mylod, a British television and film director who's mainly known for his work in a few episodes of Shameless and Game of Thrones. The Menu, however, has seemed to have catapulted him into more mainstream success, and it's likely we're going to be seeing more of his work in the future. The film was written by Seth Reiss and Tracy. The film was produced by Adam McKay, who's done excellent work in the past. He's a personal favorite of mine. Alongside his production was Betsy Koch, as well as Will Ferrell, surprisingly. A quick side note, I do like the idea of Will Ferrell kind of taking a step back from the limelight in order to work behind the camera to see what he can do as a director and producer. Considering his last few appearances in films haven't been met with a lot of love and praise from audiences and critics, which is a little bit of a shame, though we all know him as a very talented comedic actor. He's a legend, and so I do look forward to seeing him work in that regard. In charge of cinematography for The Menu was Peter Deming. Editing was done by Christopher Tellefson. Musical scoring was done by a talented musician by the name of Colin Stetson. The film was produced by companies Hyper Object Industries, which is run by Adam McKay, Gary Sanchez Productions, which is founded by Mr. Will Ferrell and Adam McKay, and TSG Entertainment, all of which are solid companies that have done excellent work in the past. The Menu has a runtime of about 106 minutes or 1.7 hours, which is standard of a film of this genre and caliber. The film had a budget of around $30 million and made around $78.1 million at the box office, which is good, not phenomenal, something I wish they would have made more at, considering it's a good film. We'll get more into that a little bit later on. But as we know, Hollywood really only understands the language of money, and the more money a film makes, it kind of makes a clear message to them that we want more films like this. We want nice, intelligent, artistic films like this, that we want to see more of in the future. Yes, please invest in movies like this, but since it made an only okay return, hopefully we see more of these in the future. The film was initially released on September 10th, 2022 at the Toronto International Film Festival, and a little bit later in the United States on November 18th of the same year by Searchlight Pictures as its distributor. The film stars Ralph Fiennes as Chef Julian Slowik, Anya Taylor-Joy as Margot, Nicholas Hoult as Tyler, Hong Chau as the hostess, among others. There are many others in this film. I do apologize for mispronouncing names and leaving a plethora of talented actors out of the listing. I only do so, as mentioned in my earlier videos, because they had limited roles, little to no speaking parts, and the film mainly focused on the actors I just mentioned. If you do like to, take a look at the cast, I'd recommend you simply look it up. I may leave it in the description below. Now I'm going to go ahead and move on to a summarized plot of the film before moving on to critiquing all the fundamental elements of a film, like writing, pacing, directing, cinematography, editing, etc. If I get into any spoilers, I will let you know beforehand. Okay, so the plot entails a group of people visiting an exclusive island for a very unique and high-class dining experience. We focus mainly on a couple, the couple Margot, played by Anya Taylor-Joy, as well as Nicholas Hoult as Tyler. As the dining experience and evening continues, we start to see some of these artistic, decorative performances being done by the chef and members of the staff, until it becomes clear the horrors they are experiencing are no longer decorative performances, but rather that they are all in danger. That's about as far as I'll go in terms of the description or summary or plot or whatever. I don't want to give away any spoilers, at least not yet. Again, I will let you know if I do beforehand. Okay, moving on to the first topic of discussion is the writing. Of course, it was done by Seth Reiss and Tracy. They did a pretty good job. It's written really well. Foreshadowing, character development, pacing are all done really well. It's a fun film to watch from beginning to end, and it may require a rewatch or two in order to really soak in the details of what makes the film really good. Another thing I enjoy about the film is how it gives you pieces of information. It does so bit by bit, not so much with other films where the information is given to you, force-fed or heavy-handed. I like films that kind of respect the audience and kind of let them think throughout the film. It's something I personally enjoy. It's not something you want to see in all films. For instance, if you want to see a nice comedy, an action film, you don't mind if you get fed the data. But with a film like this, it's nice to see that it kind of forces you to be a little bit more perceptive and to enjoy and digest the film a little bit more slowly. In terms of the directing, Mike Mylod, really good job. All the creative elements in this film were under great care of this talented director who used every piece of media as well as the actors around him to craft a really well-made, fun film to watch. Overall, good job on his part. I can't wait to see more of his work. Now, in terms of acting, I gotta say everyone did a really good job. Even the characters with little to no speaking parts did a good job in making the atmosphere work. Even if they just stood around in the background or had to act scared, they did that really well and made the film really come together. Now, in terms of the acting, everyone did a really good job. Even people with little to no speaking parts did a really good job in terms of making the atmosphere work. Anya Taylor-Joy, Ralph Fiennes, Nicholas Hoult did a really good job of playing the main characters. I love the evil, twisted chef character done by Ralph Fiennes. He always delivers a really nice and convincing performance. I notice him as a bad guy from time to time in a lot of films, and he seems to work doing that. Really good stuff there. Now with Anya Taylor-Joy, I don't know if that's like her whole name. Is it just Anya? Is it Anya Taylor? Doesn't matter. I haven't followed her career with a very close eye, but the times I do see her throughout, my film viewing experience, I'm very pleased with what she does. She never does anything horrible, at least not that I've seen yet. Everything she does is pretty good, especially in this film. Really good stuff. When I do see her, she is somewhat limited to a range of human emotion, which is fine. She does a good job. But in this film, in one particular scene, I do kind of see her extend that. There's a sharp uptick in the wide range of human emotion that she does display. For instance, there's this one scene, and this won't spoil anything for you, but there's just one scene where she gets angry at a character, and she expresses it, violently, physically. And when she does this, you can see it in her face and her actions that it was really well done and very believable. It's something I kind of want to see more of her in the future do. If she can express more of that, I think she has a talent for it, and it would be really pleasant to see. Chau, I hope I'm not mispronouncing her name, she does a really good job of being a creepy yet professional hostess that facilitates the chef designs of the menu. Everyone did a really good job overall, just good stuff. Again, even the people who didn't have a lot of talking roles were very convincing and worked really well together to make the atmosphere work. Now, cinematography is what shines in this film. All the shots are massively crafted to give you great shots that establish both the scene and the emotions that are attached to them. I also enjoyed all the nature shots kind of decorated throughout the beginning of the film. The shots of the staff cooking are nice too. The film did not overdo it with tons of food shots, which is fine. I like seeing food shots, but that's fine. They could have easily done that on accident. Just overall really good camera work throughout the entire film. This is one of those rare films that you don't have tons of nature shots and landscaping shots that make me appreciate the cinematography. That's usually what I look for in terms of, cinematography. How well are the shots placed? Do they convey emotions accurately? Also, do I get very beautiful shots of the scene, establishment, and whatnot through like a wide landscape or whatever? Those are the things I look for. But as mentioned, it's one of those rare films where you don't have a lot of that, yet I notice the cinematography is done really well. The editing is done well, nothing crazy fancy or explosive, but it works really well with the cinematography and shots given to establish the scene, the setting, pacing, and whatnot, and just really good stuff. Now, in terms of the musical scoring, pretty good. I really enjoyed it. I'm not too familiar with this Colin Stetson. In fact, I'm not too familiar with a ton of musicians and musical scoring. It's only recently, since I've been studying films like this, that I pay attention to the music. Sometimes I kind of forego it during the viewing experience, but with this film, it was done really well. It did help build suspense and drama throughout, so just good stuff there. So overall, how does the film stack up? Well, if you haven't noticed, I like it. I enjoy it. I think it works really well. Everyone involved in the production, from the acting to the back end, productions, designers, editors, writers, etc., did a really good job to make a well-crafted, intelligent film that's fun to watch. As mentioned earlier, you may have to watch it a few times in order to really digest and really see all the details that make the film work really well and make it entertaining. Acting is great, camera work. If I were to give the film a rating, it's rare that I ever do, but it would definitely land between 7 and 8 out of 10. Just really good stuff. Now, I did mention that I'd be talking a little bit about spoiler territory if I did, and that I'd be giving you a warning if I did. And so I don't think I'm going to spoil the film in terms of giving you a ton of details and scenes and shots in the film or whatever, but rather I'd like to make an attempt to explaining the film to you. I know a lot of people upon first viewing have no idea what they saw. They don't really understand why the characters did the actions they did, not because of any incompetence of the writers, directors, and whatnot, but because, as mentioned earlier, everything is very subtle. All the details and designs are kind of given to you bit by bit, and when you kind of take a step back to really see the movie or watch it a few times, you start to understand that. And so what I want to do is kind of see if I can explain it to you. So we have a film about these really wealthy elitist people. We kind of get that off the bat through the way they're portrayed, the way they act, the things they say. They're very snobby, kind of standoffish. They think the world is owed to them, and so they get on this exclusive event where they go to this chef who's top tier chef, right? He's a top tier chef, And throughout the film, we see these, decorative performances get more violent and scary. And it's at these moments where you're asking yourself, what is going on? Why is the chef doing it to these people? Is it really just because he hates rich people? In a way, yes, but it's a little bit more complicated than that. You begin to ask yourself, well, why does he hate those rich people? Well, a little bit later in the film, I'd say near the end, you start to get a very small amount of the background of this chef. As mentioned earlier, you get very little pieces of information fed to you at a time, so that when you eat them, you have to digest them and really understand. I know I'm using a lot of food analogy, screw you, whatever. Anyways, when you digest this, you start to realize, he was a chef originally, throughout his whole life, obviously. Now he's a professional chef, but what was he before? Well, we see in one scene that Anya Taylor-Joy's character, Margot, stumbles upon his belongings and sees very few things in his belonging, but a photo of him, cooking at a greasy restaurant, just like a really cheap fast food restaurant. But you see in this photo, he's smiling. He's having a good time. You don't see that really throughout the film in his, decorative art performances or whatever during the serving process. He usually has a flat face. He might smile for one or two things, but he's generally very unhappy looking. So we see him very happy in that one scene where he's working at a restaurant, or that one picture, I should say. And, you have to think about that. He's happy working at a low-class restaurant. He just wants to make good food for good people who appreciate it, who just eat it, digest it, and are just satisfied and say thank you and have a good day. It's only after doing such a good job of that he kind of elevates himself to a higher standard because of the word that spreads. People find out, man, this chef's really good. I know he works at this low-end fast food restaurant, but man, I've never had a better burger in my life. And so the word spreads, and then you get these sophisticates, these food critic people who then talk about how great this chef is, how he deserves to be on top of the moon, like on top of the world and everything like that. And so it's kind of like from his own success that kind of catapults him and puts him on this pedestal where his work needs to be scrutinized by these people. And so he has to work harder, not because he loves it and wants to help make good food for good people, but because he's under this harsh, intense pressure to make this food for these, artsy-fartsy, fancy food critics and these elitist people who don't even really care about the food or the people. They don't really care about what they're eating. Half the time they're eating plates that are like really small and just like little leaves on it. If you've ever been to a really fancy restaurant, the food's usually crap. Sure, you can go ahead and shit on me in the comments and be like, you don't know real artistic food. I know good food, bro. I like the idea of eating good food. And so it's all this pressure that gets to him that makes him no longer enjoy the craft that he used to. He used to really love cooking. Just that, simply. Not making everything unique and beautiful on a plate and using these weird contraptions to milk items and ingredients to a very fine, specific standard to then put on the plate to mix with other elements to make them great. It's not all about this work that's being put into the food. He just wants to make good food for good people. And so now he's on this pedestal, he's unhappy, to the point where he's suicidal. He's just totally done with it. He doesn't want to do it anymore. He doesn't want to cook. He doesn't find any joy of it. But he's not just going to kill himself. He's not going to go out that way. He's very unhappy, and he knows why. He's not stupid. He's aware that he did such a good job that he's put on a pedestal by these fancy food critics, and he's angry at them. I know it's a bit of an overreaction. Most people don't act this way, but of course this is a film, suspension of disbelief and whatnot. Of course, without it, we wouldn't have this entertaining film with these risky stakes at the end. And so he makes up a whole plot. The menu is pretty much a performance piece to have all these rich people put into this room so that he can critique them in a way. His food items that are delivered throughout the evening, critique them. He craps on them, he shits on them, he's upset with them, and they kind of get it throughout the night. And of course, as the film becomes too violent, they have no choice but to stay. They're, frozen in fear, or there's no way to escape. They're on an island, of course. And that's pretty much it. I mean, he then inevitably kills all of them in like a suicide bombing fire or whatever, very explosive event. And what you get out of that, at least what I get out of that, is like, it's such a beautiful message. It's like, if you do what you love, and you do it enough, people will notice. And if they notice, they put you on a pedestal. They say, you're awesome, you're the best. There's no way you can screw up. I only know this guy to do great work. And when you don't, and you hear those negative reviews, it really hits you. You were happy from the beginning in your own head. And that matters more than anything. Then you start getting all this outside criticism that massages your ego, so much so that it's very valuable to you. But of course, nobody's perfect. People make mistakes over time. They don't make things that are suitable for general audiences. And when that happens, you get those negative reviews and it hurts you. And I guess he really found out that he wasn't working towards what he wants anymore and towards what they want. He became unhappy. I'm pretty sure you guys get the message. I won't drone on any longer than I have to, but that's pretty much it. Just a really beautiful film with a beautiful message. And of course, this could apply to anything you do in life. Let's say you're a painter. You paint really well. People start noticing. Now you're put on a pedestal. And if you make some bad art, you're thrown off that pedestal. You fall, you hurt your leg and your ego, and it sucks. You could even be a soap maker. You can be a baker, and you do really good stuff. You could be, I don't know, you could assemble bicycles, and you do a really good job. You know what I mean? It could apply to anything. So I guess the main message of the film is do what you love. Don't take what other people say so seriously. Probably not the direct message, but that's just what I got from it. I really enjoyed it. I enjoy all of you guys. Thank you for watching the film. Let me know if you agree with my observation of the film and analysis and review. That's going to be it for this video. Thanks again. You guys are the best. Take care.